whatever your day holds. You need a breakfast that helps you get up and go. Up.
And go, go, go.
Up.
And go.
A delicious breakfast shake made with oats and milk. High in fibre, high in protein, high in calcium. Start right with Up and Go. The official breakfast partner of British Swimming. Find us in the cereal aisle.
SIM-only plans? There are always so many tempting options. So you jump headfirst into a long contract, which keeps you locked in for 12 months.
Somebody let me out!
At Labara, we offer great value plans and total flexibility. You can get 10 gigs of data, unlimited UK minutes and texts, and 100 international minutes for just £10 a month. And you can change or cancel anytime.
Now I feel free.
Buy now at labara.co.uk.
Attention please. Here's something I bet you didn't know. Not all supplements are created equal. At HealthSpan, our omega-3 oil is sustainably sourced from the South Pacific Ocean. We find our turmeric in the southern slopes of India. And our cod liver oil comes from the cold, crisp seas off Greenland. We work hard to seek out the best ingredients for our supplements, because that's the HealthSpan way. We're healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements in-store or direct to your door.
The latest in tech suit innovation. Frictionless fiber construction. Surface lift technology. Endo compression cage. Seamless exo shell. Tier Vinzo. Battleborn.
A very good evening to you and welcome back to the British Swimming Glasgow Meet 2021 here at Tollcross International Swimming Centre in Bonnie, Glasgow. It's a lovely day today and we're just about ready for the second day of heats for our senior swimmers. We had some fantastic finals this morning and we're looking forward to more of the same tomorrow morning, but of course they've got to get there first. That's what tonight is about. I'm Duncan McKinnell and I'm joined tonight in the commentary box by Tim Jones, the head of elite development for British Swimming. A very good evening, Tim.
Good evening. Keeping well?
I am very well, thank you, yes, and really enjoying the chance after 16 months lying fallow to be back in the commentary position in a swimming pool. It's just been great this last 24 hours, and I think we've got a lot still to come.
I think so. I mean, it's been a really positive start to the meet. I think for some of the senior athletes that are using this as part of their vital prep for Tokyo, then I think some really strong start. Last night's heats and the goal this morning was for most of them to try and move things on and swim slightly quicker this morning than they did last night. And then we obviously had some of the juniors swimming this afternoon. And very much for that group, it's probably the first time they've touched the racing pool for a good number of months.
And it was encouraging the number of improvements in times this afternoon, wasn't it, from the juniors? I thought that's... given there must have been a bit of an unknown quantity as to what was going to happen when they started swimming competitively for the first time for over a year.
Yeah, I think so. It's I mean, the way the meet sort of worked itself out is that there's a number of good quality junior girls that are part of the open part of the meet. This afternoon, then it was really the chance for some of the junior boys to shine as well, and there was it was a mixed bag, but for some people, some really encouraging signs as to some of the improvements they've made, and maybe some lessons to learn as well for coaches and athletes themselves around the value of work that they can do outside of the water, and some of the athletes have got stronger and faster as well, which is great news for them.
So we've got 10 events for you this evening. So women and men swimming the same events. side by side. 400 IM, 100 breaststroke, 200 fly, 200 freestyle, and finish off with 50 backstroke. Of course, not an Olympic event. Of course, the other four are. Looking at that program, and there's some pretty exciting stuff coming up, I think, and some pretty strong, where Britain is very, very strong.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess people watching will be looking towards the men's 200 freestyle. I mean, there's such a stock of quality athletes in Britain at the moment, all wanting to be part of that Tokyo Olympic relay. So, you know, even the group of athletes that haven't been announced onto the Olympic team as yet, there'll be one or two people that are still trying to push for places. So, of course, the first step for those athletes is to make it through the heats, and because of the depth, making it through the heats is no small task. And then I think tomorrow morning in the finals will be a really exciting race.
Yeah, so definitely. And we saw some pretty fast swimming in the heats last night, and you'd expect to see the same here. So swim fast in the heats and then swim faster tomorrow morning, if you can.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, some of the athletes that have been to the European Championships, you know, there's a little bit of a residual fatigue from that event. But I think we're incredibly pleased with the way that most of them have stood up, you know, last night and this morning and really started to move things on, or at least consolidate what they did in Budapest.
So straight into the action then. We've got the athletes out for the first heat of the evening, which is heat 1 of the women's 400 metres individual medley. That's the lineup for you. Rachel Anderson goes in lane 2 for Loughborough University. Lily Booker of Millfield School in lane 3. Hannah Miley of University of Aberdeen Performance in lane 4. Abby Wood of Loughborough National Centre in lane 5. And Amber Keegan goes for the City of Sheffield in lane 6. And 5 swimmers here. 4:39 for Hannah. Of course, very experienced 400 IMer, up to 4:49 Rachel Anderson. As you said, it's all about getting into the final, just an A final in this one. There's going to be 6 swimmers in the second heat, so 11 swimmers competing for 8 places. But also, I think, well, particularly for Hannah, who I'm sure would love to get on the plane to Tokyo. She's not there yet, because very experienced athlete. There is a space available in the 400 IM if somebody can make the time. She'll be wanting to just prove her form tonight to then try and build it on tomorrow morning. Is that how you see it, Tim?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I mean, even this first heat will be an interesting heat. You know, not seeing Abby Wood swim a 400 medley for a good period of time. You know, she's clearly made some significant strides forwards. Her 200 freestyle, breaststroke, medley combination have now become world class. She transitioned back down from being a 400 medley swimmer. Was having trouble transitioning from junior to senior in that event, but she's clearly, you know, going to experiment with this again, and, you know, swimming in the next lane to somebody of Hannah's experience. It should be a great race, even in this early heat.
Yes, so it'll be very interesting to see whether she can double up in the medley. Of course, she showed her versatility in Europe as part of a key part of the women's relay team, showing what she could do in the freestyle. Great breaststroker, of course, as well. And she's leading the way as we come down the closing stages of the butterfly here, just ahead of Hannah Miley in the silver cap in lane 4. So that's the 1-2 as we approach the 100. Abby is going to turn in 1:04.03, a lead of just over half a second. Hannah Miley in second, and then just Rachel Anderson in third, although really there's other 3 swimmers in a line pretty much.
So it's interesting watching Abby. She's a former European junior champion. She won the European Games in 2015. She always struggled on the longer medley with losing stroke rate on the backstroke leg. That was never her forte. You know, she's worked really hard with her coach Dave Hemmings on keeping rate and maintaining rate, and she's managed to do that very, very effectively on the shorter 200 metre medley race. And from the look of things, then you know, there's a good transition now onto the 400 metre as well. So she'll move on to the breast and the free legs, which are obviously really strong legs for her.
So she's holding off that lead of maybe just over a metre over Hannah Miley, and then not too far behind at all. Lily Booker in the green cap and the other two as well, Rachel Anderson and Amber Keegan. But it is Abby Wood who's holding that advantage. Metre and a half, maybe now at halfway, 2:17.44. The advantage now has grown to about 1.3 over Hannah Miley, also a very competent breaststroker, of course. So we'll see whether Abby can stretch that. Looks like she is at the moment as she goes into the breaststroke. She's looking very good indeed.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of time she's been swimming in the last couple of months, doing a breaststroke 2:21, I mean, that is true world class. That would typically win a medal at a World Championships sort of level. We also shouldn't dismiss Lily Booker as well. Lily's a high quality 200 breaststroker as well. She's well under 2:30, so she'll be very competitive through the back part of this event as well.
Yeah, she was second in the British trials behind Amy Wilmot. Of course, got the one Olympic space that's so far been taken. We'll see her in the next heat. And that's the 1, 2, 3 at the moment. You see them all in shot there. And Abby Wood certainly seems to be in no mood to be trifled with. She's built her lead very nicely here in the breaststroke and set herself up for a strong freestyle to finish on. She's going to touch in around 3:33.24. So entry time of 4:40. So
yeah, Abby has a best time of 4:37, but she's only swum that time once. She's not a consistent athlete to swim under 4:40. So I think, you know, anything under 4:40 will be, you know, a significant swim for Abby and give her, again, just even more confidence leading into the summer.
So coming up to the final turn, which she goes through in 4:06. So that was around a 33 there. So based on that, you think she's going to be around the 4:40 or maybe slightly below, hopefully. Certainly going to take this first heat. Hannah Miley now quite a long way behind, so she will book her slot certainly for tomorrow morning, and then we'll see what she can do. But Abby is the one who's setting out the signals maybe, and well, let's look at that clock. She has put herself within the target, 4:38.20. So the consideration time 4:36.68, so only a second and a half away from that. So very encouraging to get us started there. She'll be pleased with that, wouldn't you think?
Oh, she'll be really pleased. You know, this won't form part of her racing program through the summer. That's pretty much set now. 400 medley wouldn't feature for Abby, but in terms of a supporting event further down the line, or an event to return to for maybe the 2022 season, you know, this will be a really positive swim for her.
So you can't see her if she was to get the time tomorrow to have saying, well, put me in, give me a shot.
I think she's got a busy program. I mean, she swam you know, plenty of relays at the European Championships. You know, you have to remember that, you know, going through the rounds of a 200-meter event at an Olympics is spread over 3 days. So straight away, 3 days of 200 breaststroke, 3 days hopefully of 200 medley as well. That's 6 days, and that's before we even start with relays as well. So, you know, the art is always finding where your best medal opportunities are, rather than just swimming all the events that you can qualify for.
Unless your name's Phelps.
Unless your name's Phelps.
Not too many of them around them. So that was excellent stuff from Abby, and getting us off to a great start. Hannah Miley in second, Lily Booker behind her. Second heat then. Amy Wilmot, as I said, has a time. Did the 4:35.70 that she's entered in at the British Trials in London. Silver medal in Budapest as well, so having a good season.
Yeah, I mean, it's some huge swims for Amy. You know, she made the commitment to move to of years back now, and you know, Amy won't mind me saying, you know, she's one of the older athletes on the team. This will be her last games. But you know, put in a terrific performance in London, and then the medal that she won in Budapest, you know, was just the perfect tonic leading into London. It's an event which is interesting because it's not really moved on across the world. You know, the times that were swum 8, 10, 12 years ago still hold up today. So, you know, Amy's putting herself in a really good place. You know, I know she's back in work at the moment, so In fact, it looks as though she's not starting in this from looking across the pool.
So neither she is. So that's a little bit of a surprise, but gives the others an opportunity. So we're down to 5 swimmers then. Yvonne Brown will go in lane 2 for the University of Aberdeen performance team. Then Katie Shanahan from the City of Glasgow in lane 3, as Tim pointed out, eagle-eyed. No Amy Wilmot. We wish her all the best. Michaela Glenister, University of Stirling in 5, Freya Colbert, Nova Centurion in 6, and completing the field is Bea Varley of Plymouth Leander in lane 7. So that empty lane in lane 4, does that change the dynamics of this race at all for Michaela in 5, Katie in 3?
It probably does a little bit. Solid swims will see both of these girls progress through to the final tomorrow. I'm sure Amy's just managing fatigue at the moment, having come off Budapest. Again, when the athletes start to get back into work, to come to a meet like this, particularly for people doing tough endurance events like the 400 medley, is a real challenge. The last thing any of the athletes need to do is to get sick at this point in time, being so close to Tokyo. So there'll just be an element of caution there from Amy and her coach, Stephen Tigg, just to make sure that she manages the next few weeks well. But it does allow athletes like Katie and Michaela to show what they can do as well. And there's some really good junior talent in here as well. Freya Colbert is an athlete who went to European Juniors a couple of years ago and would be looking for selection for that event again this year.
So 1:05.84, the split for Katie Shanahan. Of course, that terrific 200 backstroke in Budapest from Katie, and so we'll see what she can do on the backstroke leg here. But a very fine individual medley swimmer as well, and I think she'll probably be one who will be hoping for big things in Rome at the European Juniors.
Yeah, and I think she's a classic example of somebody that's still learning how to approach the 400 medley. For Katie, who's got such a super strength in her backstroke leg, then if you watch her here, then it's she's not really making the most of that. She tends at the moment to sit with a very slow stroke rate on her backstroke leg, and that'll be a work on for her and her coach Daniel Brayson in the coming weeks and months. But she's an athlete that we added to the team to go to Budapest, and certainly took real advantage of that opportunity. And the final swim, the 6th place on the 200 backstroke, was probably more than any of us would have expected.
She certainly got pushed a bit there by Freya Kolb in the first half of the backstroke. Looks like maybe she's just back into the lead, having lost it momentarily at the 150 turn. But she does go into the breaststroke with the lead, 2:20.36, up by about 8/10. Not surprisingly, with lane 4 empty, this is a little slower split than we saw from Abby Wood in the first heat. And it's going to be pretty competitive, you would think. Bea Varley also looking pretty strong in lane 7, the Plymouth swimmer.
Both of these girls were finalists at the European Juniors in 2019. Freya has, 4 really strong, solid strokes. She tells me she's been working hard on a breaststroke work as well, breaststroke technique. But she'll hold her own all the way through this and push Katie right to the line.
Also up there in that group of 4 is Yvonne Brown, up on the top of your screen in the white cap from the University of Aberdeen. So she is looking to stay in touch with the swimmers at the bottom of your screen, but it does look like Katie Shannon just cementing her lead now. She's come up towards 300. She's maybe, 3 meters or so, well, maybe not quite that much, up on the green-capped Freya Colbert. See what the gap is in time at the 300. 3:42.57 for Katie, 3:45.21 for Freya, so just over 2.5 seconds. So it is a race for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. You'd probably think that they'd all make it into the final. There's a big bat then. Oops, I'm getting my mouth all twisted up. Put the false teeth back in. big gap between 4th and 5th. So we'll see when we get the summary as to where they are. Have they got the top 8 position needed? Certainly I don't think we need to worry about that for Katie Shanahan. She is going to be a comfortable leader here, and it's going to be maybe 3rd or maybe even 2nd fastest qualifier overall. We'll see. Good race developing now, though. Bea Varley is right up with Freya Colburn, maybe just going past her in this closing stages. So she wants to make sure of her place. Who's going to get the touch here? In second it was Bea, I think. That time not coming up on the board here in the venue, so, but I'm pretty sure that she did get second ahead of Freya Colbert. But we'll wait for confirmation of that. 4:49.29 is the time for Katie Shanahan. Entered on 4:43, so you've wanted her to be in a little faster than that. Again, she's coming off that Budapest experience, and so will be tired, I'm sure, as well, in heavy training. So perhaps that was about what you'd expect? What do you think?
So. I mean, it's a solid heat swim. She'll make it through to the final tomorrow on that. I do know Katie's swimming other events in this session. She's looking to post something of significance on the 200 freestyle, and she's going to have to swim well on that to make the senior final. So maybe Katie's priorities are more based on the 200 freestyle this session, and she's just easing her way through those heats.
So there is confirmation. Abby Wood, the fastest qualifier, and looking down through to Yvonne Brown as 8th fastest. So back to that, then you can see that it's Rachel Anderson and Michaela Glenister who miss out. Everybody else is in. Congratulations to them. So then on to the men. We've just got the one heat here, 8 swimmers. So when you've got just 8 swimmers going for 8 places in the final, the temptation, I guess, is to take it easy, but you don't want them to do that, do you?
No, and certainly there's an incentive for a couple of the juniors in the field as well, because times that they produce in any round at this meet can count towards consideration for European junior teams. So in essence, you know, the younger lads have got 2 big shots here to try and post a time. Whereas for people that are still looking for Olympic consideration times, those times can only be done in the finals, which are the morning swims.
So I tell a lie, in fact, that we've got, well, I was going to say we've got 9 swimmers, but it looks like we've got nobody in lane 1. Looks like Joel Thompson not there. So just counting up the line, we've got 8 swimmers. So by more luck than judgment, I was right. George Smith, one of those juniors, goes for Ellesmere College in lane 0. As I said, it looks like we've got nobody in lane 1. Will Riley of Bath University will go in 2. Mark Sharanek of the University of Stirling in 3. Max Litchfield, Loughborough National Centre in lane 4. And beside him, Brodie Williams of Bath National Centre. Lane 6, Charlie Hutchison of Loughborough University. 7 is Angus Allison of Warrender Baths, and lane 8, Ben Harrison of Loughborough University. So the juniors here mentioned George Smith, but also Angus Allison, the Warrender swimmer in lane 7. And then you've got Max Litchfield and Brodie Williams, who already have booked the 2 slots in the Tokyo plane for this event. So they'll go head-to-head in lanes 4 and 5 with the experienced Mark Sharanek, I'm sure, trying to go with them as well.
So this is one of the events where both of the Olympic slots have already been closed out. So British Swimming published a list of those events following the London trials and the initial 28 selections to say these are the events where there are still spaces. This is one of the events where, from the performances of both Max and Brodie in London, I'd be surprised at performance from Brodie, to be honest with you, on the 400 medley. He's always been very competent at this event. I think people would probably have seen him more as a 200 backstroke athlete, but he had an outstanding swim in London.
Yeah, all power to him for that. So we'll see what he can do here. Certainly it's Max who is pushing it out strongly. Second yesterday in the 200 IM, where he had a cracking battle with his brother just behind Duncan Scott. But it is Max leading the way here in his favoured event, 57.71. So leading by about 1.2. Charlie Hutchison with a good fly leg. Scott based in Loughborough, 19-year-old now. Tough, I guess, for those ones who are 19 this year, because they missed out on a year of opportunity at European Juniors, didn't they, last year? And they've now got to go and progress into the seniors without that stepping stone.
Yeah, and you know, it's something we're very mindful of. You know, there's a good group of athletes that you know, for just circumstances beyond anybody's control, just were denied those opportunities. We know that we've got a piece of work to do to try and give some of those talented athletes a leg up over the next 12 months, find some opportunities to expose them, give them some racing opportunities across the world, and that's something we will be working hard to do from the start of next season.
And of course Birmingham is a great opportunity for that in the Commonwealth Games, because obviously there'll be a lot more British swimmers competing in that. Absolutely. Across the three nations.
Absolutely. I mean, next year is an incredibly busy year. There's European Short Course, World Short Course, European Championships Long Course, World Championships Long Course, and the Commonwealth Games. So it's a case of pick your meat and pick your priorities for next season.
Yeah, but plenty of opportunities to watch some high quality swimming.
Absolutely.
It'll be fantastic.
This is a really good example, this heat as well. So, you know, you've got Max Litchfield, who, you know, he's very, very consistent in his performance, meet on meet. Might not always some best times, but, you know, he's always consistent. Brodie, who made a huge drop in his personal best time at the London Trials. He comes from a slightly different coaching model, which means, you know, those guys work really hard. They do tend to get quite tired. Some of their in-season performances aren't quite as good as some of the athletes in some of the other coaching groups. But what they do is they can hit some real highs when they do rest, and that's what Brodie did in London. You know, really came out of nowhere, dropped 5 seconds on his best time, and hit an Olympic cut.
So 3:13 with 100 to go for Max. So he's looking very solid here. Big lead now, nearly 7 seconds over Mark Sharanek and Charlie Hutchison, who are just Mark Sharanek with the advantage in that contest.
Max had a really positive European Championships as well. You know, it's you know, probably the last season was not what Max was looking for, but certainly the way his confidence has grown again through these past 3 or 4 months, and you know, some real strong back ends to his swims, which is always the key to good 200, 400 medley swimming. You know, if you haven't got a finish on the freestyle, you are going to get overtaken. You've got to be potent on that back end, and Max's freestyle is working really well for him at the moment.
So, of course, 8 swimmers here. 8 swimmers will progress. So this is about process. Max with a 4:10 entry time is coming in a 4:16.35. So I think he's suddenly stuck to the script pretty well there. Second place, Mark Sharanek, 4:20.64, and third place, Charlie Hutchison, 4:22.76. So all sort of 5 or 6 seconds away from their entry times. So, well, Mark Sharanek slightly less than that, about 4 seconds for him. So some pretty decent stuff there. Looking at the juniors, 4:30 for Angus and 4:31 for George, so pretty well matched there again. Well, George, in fact, well inside his entry time, so he'll be happy with that. So it's confirmation there's the summary for you. Max heading the field. Of course, he was within a whisker of a medal at Rio. Can he just go that little bit better in Tokyo, do you think?
Well, he certainly has the potential. You know, if the one thing you can say about Max is he's the most professional athlete. He will do everything he possibly can to see the outcome as being a podium outcome in Tokyo. So things are moving in the right direction. I would certainly suggest he's got momentum on his side at the moment. You know, confidence is building, you know, pretty much day on day. He'll be very happy with that. You know, that for somebody to cruise a 4:16, that shows the quality of the swim.
Yes, excellent stuff there. So we move on to the women's 100 breaststroke now. And we have the first appearances of some of our para swimmers. There'll be one each in each of the 3 heats. You can see the first one there in lane 2, Maisie Summers-Newton of Northampton, swimming SB6. And certainly a para star for Great Britain, Maisie. Then we have Annabelle Guy-Johnson going for Edinburgh University in 3 with her teammate Cara Hanlon beside her in lane 4. Millfield School's Anna Morgan will go in lane 5, and Lucia Grant from Plymouth Leander will be in lane 6. So in this one we will have a para final, and just counting up the number of entries we've got in the able-bodied athletes, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so just an A final, I think, when you don't hit the 17 that's required to justify a B final. So they've got to get in the top 8, the able-bodied athletes. The para swimmers will go through, barring a DQ, the 3 of them. And interesting that they're in the different heats, of course, seeded on time in the normal way. So they'll be watching each other's time, particularly when, in fact, interestingly, there's pretty close classifications. The 2 SB6s, Maisie and Ellie Simmons, and the SB5, Grace Harvey. So there won't be too much difference in their times either.
And I'm sure the 3 girls will benefit from the race they'll have tomorrow when they're all in the same final. Strung across the 3 heats makes it slightly more challenging for the 3 girls.
But they will be well used to it, I guess, in swimming to their own race plan. And that's certainly what Maisie's going to have to do. But straight away into the lead in lane 4 is Cara Hanlon. She's having a pretty good season, performed well in London, 3rd in the British trials. She's up by a couple of metres maybe. Beside her in the green cap, Anna Morgan of Millfield, and on the other side, Annabelle Guy-Johnson, Edinburgh University teammate. 32 seconds dead at the 50 split. Let's just see what Maisie's split is. And it is 43.94, just out of shot at the moment. We'll see how once we're done with the able-bodied athletes. So it's going to be Cara, clearly. We'll take this one. Comes in on a 68 dead. The time just going into the minute now, so swimming pretty close to that. In fact, well, she's going to be very close to it, I think. Can she just sneak inside it? Not quite. 1:08.37 though, so a very competent, tidy swim from Cara there. Second place was Anna Morgan, and 3rd place Annabelle Guy-Johnson, 1:11.09 and 1:13.02. Here we see Maisie coming in, so her entry time 1:33.46. And she comes in 1:34.15, so again pretty close to that time. Silver medalist in the World Paralympic Championships in 2019. And so she'll be hoping for big things in the Paralympics in Tokyo later in the year. Confirmation there. 1:08.37 for Cara Hanlon, 1:11.09 for Anna Morgan, Annabelle Guy-Johnson, 1:13.02. Certainly I think Cara Hanlon can lay claim for the best ever athlete to come from the Outer Hebrides. So whenever they declare independence, she'll be their superstar. Not expecting that imminently, it has to be said.
Interesting how women's breaststroke has moved on in Britain. It doesn't seem too long ago where, for an athlete to break 1:10 for 100 breaststroke was seen to be a real big deal. We had a couple of girls go 1:06 in the individual events in Budapest, the Europeans. One of the girls went 1:05 in the medley team as well. So, we've certainly made some significant strides forwards. When you add that to the quality of a couple of our, backstroke girls now, and the flying free legs as well, it means that we've got a pretty potent women's medley team we can put together.
Yeah, both Olympic slots taken. One of them will appear in this heat, Molly Renshaw. And I guess Molly and Sarah Vasey go in the third heat. They've sort of led the charge, haven't they? And in a way, in that improvement in British breaststroke swimming, it's certainly at the 100.
Absolutely, and probably a real case because, you know, maybe a year or two back there were probably 7 or 8 athletes that could have been vying for those Olympic slots. And through that upward pressure, then in essence, a couple of those girls have popped out and produced some real high quality performances. You know, Molly's been around for a good long period of time, and you know, just swimming with a huge amount of confidence at the moment. 200 breaststroke at the Europeans was fantastic. You know, anybody that swims 220 for 200 breaststroke, you know, that's the best of the best. But you know, really good to see Molly, who, you know, just very content in herself at the moment, and you know, a lesson for any young swimmer about, you know, somebody that just needs to enjoy a journey. You know, Molly's somebody that doesn't put too much pressure on herself. She needs to be happy in herself, and when she's happy in herself, then she performs well in the pool.
So the lineup here in lane 2, we've got Ellie Sybil Perkins from the city of Birmingham. Lane 3, Warrender's Katie Goodburn. In lane 4 is Molly Renshaw from Loughborough National Centre. Next to her, Megan Morrison of Loughborough University. Caris O'Reilly goes in lane 6 for the city of Leicester. And the paraswimmer SB5, Grace Harvey of Hoddesdon, goes in lane 7. So I mentioned Molly Renshaw picking up the Olympic slot from her swim in the British Trials, finalist in Rio, and of course did a wonderful 200 breast and also a British record in the semi-final in the 100, so 106.21 she did in Budapest, so that was very impressive stuff. Grace Harvey is getting herself ready there in lane 7. Swimming SP5 was inside the para consideration time at the British Para International. Did a 1:43.82 there, entered 1:41. So away we go. The two black caps in the centre, Molly Renshaw and Megan Morrison, with strong starts. Katie Goodburn just behind them, along with Caris O'Reilly. But Renshaw now getting into her stroke and just starting to move away. Perhaps a metre up now as they approach the turn. And well, more than a metre now. 31.92. Only 800s faster than the first heat at the halfway point, but does look to be stretching it out a bit now. And of course, with that 200 expertise, you expect her to be strong in the second half in the swamp.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Molly struggled for a period of time to combine the 200 and the 100 metre events. They all both have slightly different technical, very suited. Because of a distance per stroke to the 200 event, but she's really managed to find form on the 100 as well.
So 1:07.43, so pretty much the same split as Cara Hanlon at halfway, but a second faster than her in the second half. So she's certainly put herself into pole position at this stage, barring, the, of course, what's to come in the final heat. Megan Morrison taking second, and Caris O'Reilly just getting ahead of Katie Goodburn to take third. Now here comes Grace Harvey. Looking strong there, SB5 swimmer, as I said. See how close she can get to her 1:41 entry time. And the answer is very close, 1:41.79. So that was faster than she did at the British Para International. So she'll be happy with that. And of course, as you said, Tim, the 3 para girls will get to go tomorrow morning up against each other. And well, Grace is going to be right in there, I would think, against the 2 SB6 swimmers.
Yeah, it should be a really competitive race tomorrow. You know, it's you know, there's a much smaller time differential across the girls when they're racing head to head rather than being strung out across the 3 heats. So I think that will be, you know, for the benefit of them and the quality of the race tomorrow morning.
So heat 3 coming up, and this will of course feature Sarah Vasey, the European finalist, winner in the British trials, where she got her slot for Tokyo, coming in at a 1:06.37. There are 6 swimmers altogether going in this one. Beth Dennis will go for City of Peterborough in lane 2. Alicia Wilson of Guildford City in 3. Sarah Vasey for the Loughborough National Centre in 4. Katie Robertson of Edinburgh University in 5. Maya Hall of Ellesmere College in 6. And the paraswimmer, the legend Ellie Simmons, SB6, going for Camden Swiss in lane 7.
This shows the real difference in approach. So in the last heat we had Molly Renshaw, who's very much a 200 athlete that drops down to the 100. Sarah is very much a sprint-based athlete, so she's more of a 50-stroke 100-metre breaststroke swimmer. So it's always an interesting race when you watch those two go to head, because they both have different strengths when they come to the race.
So do you think you'd expect her at the 50 to be faster than the previous 2 heats? And then the question is, will she be faster than Molly in the second half?
I mean, for sure against Molly. Sarah has a 50 best time of low 30. Molly wouldn't have broken 31 seconds for a 50 sprint. There's a significant difference in flat 50-metre speed. But Molly will stay competitive in the final tomorrow at the first 50 and draw on her endurance down the second part of the race, whereas Sarah, it'll be more of a sprint out and sort of holding from that point onwards.
And of course we've got Alicia Wilson in lane 3 and Katie Robertson, who had success at European junior level, in lane 5. So do you think any of them can get anywhere close to Sarah?
I think, Katie is the breaststroke specialist. Alicia will be doing this event. She's qualified for the Olympics on the 200 medley, so she'll be working some of her strokes. She's a very competent athlete on all 4 strokes, so this will just be part of her preparation. I think if Alicia got anywhere near her entry time, then she'll be very happy with that.
So I'm not sure whether there's been an adjustment to a time there. There's the second heat result just coming back up onto the screen for you there, so it doesn't change the placings as far as I could see anyway, and doesn't change Molly's time. 1:07.43 will be the time for this final heat to beat if they want lane 4 tomorrow morning. So certainly a strong start from Katie Robertson in lane 5 there, very good off the blocks, but now Sarah Vasey and also Alicia Wilson getting in about it as well, as is Maya Hall. She's in that mix as well, so 4 of them here. So this could be competitive for places in the final here, because with 3 heats here, it's by no means obvious that you're going to make it. You need a strong swim. Sarah Vasey, 31.89, so we should be faster than Molly at the halfway mark, but only 300s faster, so she's going to need a strong second half here if she wants lane 4 in the final tomorrow morning. Being pushed pretty well by Alicia Wilson, so of course as an IMer you have to be competent across the range, and perhaps particularly in breaststroke. And a good contest developing now for third between Katie Robertson and Maya Hall. That one I think will go the distance, but it's going to be Vasey taking it. Let's check on that time. 1:07.94, so she's going to have to settle for lane 5 tomorrow morning. Second fastest overall. Second place, Alicia Wilson, 1:09.54. I'm sure she'll be comfortably there in the final. And it was Maya Hall just touching out Katie Robertson for third. Here we see Ellie Simmons then coming in, 1:38 entry time. I don't think she's going to be close to that today. But of course, it's all about maybe saving her energy for tomorrow morning. Let's see what the time is. The answer is 1:41.82, so 3.5 seconds away from her entry time. But, well, we'll see what she can do tomorrow morning.
Some pretty solid swims there. I think probably probably the girl that'll be the happiest there will be Alicia Wilson. You know, that's a good move on from her entry time. Alicia's based in the States for the most part of the year. She swims at Cal Berkeley, part of the US collegiate program. So she came back a period of time before the London trials and popped back to the States for a short period of time. But she'll now be based in the UK until the team travels to Tokyo. That was a really strong swim for her there.
So where's she basing herself up now? She's back in the UK temporarily.
Well, she's a Guildford swimmer, so she's based in there. I think she may go and swim for a short period of time in with a national centre in Bath as well, just to be around some others from the Olympic team.
So Megan Morrison's taking 8th spot for the final. You saw there on the screen. So her and all the swimmers faster than her will get the swims tomorrow. And of course, we'll see the 3 Paralympians as well. On to the men now. We've got 4 heats here. I think it's the first time we've had 4 heats in one of these events.
Hugely competitive, you know. Where we're just so lucky to have, you know, the quality of Adam Peaty, James Wilby, Ross Murdoch, which in essence has made it tough for the other breaststroke lads. You know, it's almost shut out all the selections for any major event on breaststroke for such a long period of time now. But we've got some really exciting talent that's sitting underneath that group as well, and you know, just waiting for their chance to shine as well.
So would you like to retire? But of course, from a British perspective, we want them sticking in there. The first heat will feature 4 swimmers, 3 of them para swimmers. Gavin Roberts, who will swim SB14 for City of Glasgow in lane 3. Then we've got George Smith back in the water. He's having a pretty busy time of it this evening. Ellesmere College swimmer goes in lane 4. Then Jack Milne, another SB14, goes for Dundee City Aquatics in lane 5. And Will Perry, the SB6 swimmer, swimming for Northampton in lane 6. So again, we've just got the 3 para swimmers. Oh, 4. No, I tell a lie. We've got 5 para swimmers, 2 SB14s to come in the 3 seeded heats. So they will all progress, I'm sure, into the para-final. George Smith then has the task of trying to push hard in lane 4. Just a couple of seconds advantage over the 2 SB14s in terms of time, so it could give him a bit of a race, and certainly at the moment he is leading them, but not by a huge margin.
George has a really strong meet so far. He nipped just under the consideration time for the 200 medley last night. He swam again this morning, and again pretty much repeated that performance. He's a really strong 100-200 breaststroker as well as a medley swimmer.
Turns at 30.45, so he's certainly building up that advantage now over the 2 SB14s. A good contest between them because they'll have swum against each other in Scottish meets many a time, and at the moment it's Gavin Roberts has the advantage over Jack Milne, and looking like he's going to hold that, but well clear of them now is George Smith of Ellesmere College, so coming in on a 106.66, clock just into the minute, so I think he's going to be inside that. It certainly is. 104.64, 2-second improvement, so another excellent swim there from George.
Yeah, George would be pretty happy with that. I think, you know, he's probably a stronger 200 breaststroke swimmer, but you know, that's coming off the back of the 400 medley, the long medley, not too long ago. That was a really solid swim for George.
So just confirming then that Gavin Roberts was second and Jack Milne third. Will Perry 132.58 in 4th place. So those swimmers all somewhat off their times, but we'll see what they do tomorrow in the para-final. Second heat coming up of 4, so we talked about the big 3. The one that we'll see in this second heat is Ross Murdoch 59.21 entry time for him.
Ross had a great Europeans as well a couple of weeks back. I thought his touring to breaststroke was terrific. He did a really honest interview as well after that about how he'd dealt with the past 12 months, how he'd needed the last 12 months to almost reinvigorate his swimming career as well, and to get his priorities back in line. So it's terrific seeing Ross swimming so well and giving himself every chance if he continues to move in that direction of making an Olympic final in Tokyo.
Yep, but that's going to be in 200, not 100. There's the two slots in the 100 taken by Messrs. Peaty and Wilby. Both of them medalists in Budapest. And Peaty we saw in the 50. We didn't see James in the 50 last night. We did see Ross, which is not often he does a 50 anymore. He used to do them lots and lots of times back in the day. Not so much now. Very much now decides his future is in 200 breast, and I think that is the right place for him.
I think as an athlete as well, you've got to recognise where your opportunities are, and Ross is smart. Whilst he's always given the 100 his best shot, he recognises when he's up against two other quality athletes in PT and Wilby, that's always going to be a challenge for him, and he's making the most of his opportunity on the 200 breaststroke now.
So the lineup in this second heat, we have William Ellington of Millfield going in lane 1. Bradley Newman of City of Cardiff is in lane 2. 3 is David Bloomfield of Loughborough University. Then we have Ross Murdoch of the University of Stirling in 4. Archie Goodburn goes in lane 5 for Loughborough University. Kyle Boyack of University of Edinburgh is in 6. Max Hagan from the City of Glasgow in 7. And Liam Davis from Plymouth Leander in lane 8. So the only one with an inch time under the minute is Ross Murdoch. We'll see how close he can get to that here. Third in the British trials, behind the big two. Of course, then went on, as we said, to cement his place in the 200. And I guess Archie Goodburn is one of that following group that you were talking about earlier, Tim, going in lane 5, and he'll be wanting to move his performances on this year.
He will be, and again, Archie's an interesting example of sometimes how challenging it is to transition from being a really good junior to a good senior. Archie's doing a really good job, but he's in an event which is so incredibly competitive. To find his opportunities, they're fairly thin at the moment. So Archie's diversifying and doing some freestyle events, some fly events, some medley events as well. And that's the right thing to do, just to keep his progression moving forwards.
So Ross Murdoch, as we thought, is dominating this one, and it's a tight contest between David Bloomfield and Archie Goodburn for second. Just ahead of Kyle Boyack as well, who's not far away in that mix. But let's see what Ross's time is going to be. The clock just approaching the minute here. I think it just sneaked over. No, it didn't, in fact. It just stopped it at 59.93. So well, that was pretty solid for a heat swim. Get under the minute.
The minute is still a huge barrier for the breaststroke athletes. Anybody that can break a minute is doing a great job. And this pool, as we all know, holds a lot of special memories for Ross, and really his breakthrough pool at the 2014 Commonwealth Games. Somewhat of a surprise win on that event there. But I'm sure he loves coming back and racing here.
Yeah, and of course home ground for him as well, brought up in the west of Scotland. So, yeah, special place, special memories. David Bloomfield taking second, Kyle Boyack just getting ahead of Archie Goodburn as well for third. So Archie's place in the A final is looking a bit sitting on a sugary peg, as we say up here at the moment. We'll see how that works out. But Ross certainly will be there. 59.93. And certainly looking in very good physical condition. There's the lineup for heat number 3. Joe Thompson for Ellesmere College in 1. Conor Bryan of Abingdon Vale in 2, Kyle Booth of City of Cardiff in 3, James Wilby of Loughborough National Centre in 4, Greg Butler of Loughborough University in 5, Eugene Cook of Edinburgh University in 6, Harvey Freeman of Northampton in 7, and Connor Morrison, SP14 swimmer from Aberdeen Performance, is in lane 8. So James Wilby, entry time 58.46, of course, was absolutely superb. Well, he's been pretty superb for the last 3 or 4 years, I suppose. I suppose maybe the breakthrough season was 2018, perhaps, with his performances in Europe and in the Commonwealth Games there, and then backing it up big time in the Worlds.
For sure. I mean, a really good example of a late developer in James. You know, James, incredibly diligent, highly intelligent athlete, but it really didn't start to happen for James until he was 24, 25 years of age. You know, so it's a lesson to any young athlete to say, you know, it doesn't have to happen at an early age. He's been very persistent. James hasn't had his best results the past couple of years. You know, it's a really interesting heat. This is, you know, we've got Joel Thompson in lane 1, who's based in the States at Louisiana State University. We've got Carl Booth, who's a World Junior finalist in 2019, a couple of years ago. So he's trying to make the transition, as is Greg Butler. Again, he was a European Junior finalist, medalist in 2018. So, you know, a really interesting group. And Harvey Freeman down in lane 7, who's an athlete that's already posted a consideration time for the European Juniors already through his performances at the London trial. So, you know, a real mix of talent across the pool, right across the pool here.
58.46, though, it's hard to see past that, but let's see what the others can do. Greg Butler has 60.7 entry time. Carl Booth 61. So James second in the British trials behind Adam Peaty, and then bronze in Budapest. So he's certainly looking good, and he's looking pretty good coming out here. He's maybe a half a metre now up on Greg Butler, who's doing his best to stay with him. He's not far behind here as we come up to the 50. Ross's split was 27.95, so this is just a little bit faster, 27.74.
And Greg's a quality athlete. I mean, Greg's coached by Mel Marshall in the same training group as Adam Peaty. He swam just under his best on the 50 this morning, so he's in good shape at the moment, Greg is, and he's doing a good job here.
He certainly is. He's giving James a run for his money here, and it's going to be pretty tight as they come to the finish here. I think Wilby will just get the touch. Just outside the minute in the end, 1:00:38 and 1:00:61 for Greg. So Greg just a 10th inside his entry time. So that will be good, you know, to use as a platform for tomorrow morning if he can take that on a bit further. Kyle Booth taking third ahead of Eugene Cook, and 1:04:21 for the junior swimmer Harvey Freeman in 5th place. Connor Morrison there, 1:09.83 for the para-athlete. That's a fair bit of his best time. There's the coaching fraternity. We firmly lock them away behind the bars there. Don't let them get out too much. And they'll be keeping an eye on what's to come here. So Sina just under the 59 and then just over the 60. Oh, sorry, just under the 60 and just over the 60 in the last 2 heats. You'd think we'd be comfortably under the 60 in this one from Adam. You reckon a 58 maybe, or what do you reckon?
I'm sure he'd be pretty happy with that. You know, up until very recently, he had the top 20 swimmers in the world ever on the 100 breaststroke, which is just a phenomenal achievement for any sportsman. He certainly sets a tone for the rest of the British team, and it's easy to become complacent with the success that somebody like Adam has and what he can bring to the team. But he's a real ambassador for what we do, and hopefully with the likes of Greg Butler, he's passing on, you know, some of his knowledge to the next generation as well. Coach Mel Marshall has got a vested interest in Greg Butler. She used to coach him when she was at Derby, Then Greg was coached for a period of time by Mandy Bell, and he's been part of the national centre now for a couple of years. So, he'll be looking to move things on. That was a really strong swim from him.
So here come the athletes for this final heat. So the line-up is the para swimmer Scott Quinn, SB14, goes in lane 0. Very flashy pair of shorts. We just can't quite see that at the moment. There you go, you can get a bit of a shot of them. So very elegant. James McFadden, Loughborough University in 2. Nick Quinn of Edinburgh University in 3. Adam Peaty, Loughborough National Centre in 4, with his teammate David Murphy in 5. Adam Chillingworth of Plymouth Leander in 6. George Clough of the University of Stirling in 7. And Samuel Neild of Surrey University in lane 8. David Murphy, another one in that sort of next tranche, I guess. Be looking to take on the mantle. Entry time here 1:00:07, so would love, I'm sure, to break under the minute.
And again, he's another athlete part of the same coaching group with Petey and Butler.
It must be great to have that day after day being with these absolutely fine athletes and working together and seeing what everybody else is doing, not just waiting for the occasional meet to see what your opposition's at. You see it every day.
Absolutely.
So off we go. Good solid performance from Adam in the 50 this morning. So back here this evening for the 100. And he's just got the advantage over the white cap David Murphy at the moment. And then a bit of a gap to the rest of the field. Going very nicely in lane 2 is James McFadden, I think touching in 3rd. 27.45 for Adam, so that is a little bit faster than we've seen. 3/10 faster than James Wilby's split, and now starting to stretch it over David Murphy, who's certainly looking good. In second place at Sophie Freeman, 2:13.82, but 2:07.04, and well, that was really driving it so hard. Thinking of that, came back in under 33. There, so to back end a 200 fly like that.
That's a great swim. And again, typically across world swimming, 200 fly for women has not moved forward significantly the last few years. If you're swimming that sort of time, 2:07.0, you're a competitor. You're shooting for medals on that sort of time.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Just having a look at where she comes out the pool. I think she can be pretty satisfied with that.
And the job now is for her and the coach to go back and say, what was it that was so good about that swim? What did I get quite right on that swim that it just hasn't quite clicked in the 200-metre races I've done so far this season?
Second heat will be a follow that then. Sarah Kalafska goes in lane 1 for Hatfield. Maisie Thornton of Crawley will be in 2. Kira Schlossen of Bath National Centre in 3. Alice Thomas of Swansea University in 4. Emily Large of Bath National Centre in 5. Gaia Alcaraz, Aberdeen Performance in 6. Fleur Lewis of Ellesmere College in 7. And Lucy Grieve of South Ayrshire in lane 8. So Alice, of course, doesn't have the pressure of trying to get the time. She got that. Another example of a late developer, I guess.
Absolutely, another great example. Alice is always challenged because she has to manage her own sort of body and her body health. Means that she's not always firing as quickly as she would like to. But again, across the 3 lanes here, Kira Schlossen, who's been a medalist at European Junior level. We've got Emily Large, who won the World Juniors as well. So quality either side of Alice.
So away they go. Alice Thomas in lane 4. Straight away into the lead. At half a metre clear, and Emily Large, well, just clawing that back now. Strong start from Lucy Grieve as well on the bottom of your screen, one of the juniors here. But you wouldn't expect her to be able to live with the senior swimmers, but well, we'll wait and see. 29.55. It was Emily Large, in fact, getting the touch there. Slower than the first heat by about 6/10, but now Alice back into the lead, just ahead of Emily, and then behind them Kira Schlossen. So the three in the black caps look like they're going to dominate now. Not very much between them at all at halfway, less than a metre. Alice with the touch, 1:02.68. And just 400s between her and Emily Large. Kira Schlossen trying to hang on with the other two, but maybe just dropping back a little bit now down this third 50. So it looks like it's now Thomas versus Large.
Alice usually has a really strong last turn as well, so just something to look out for here. Really good underwater work usually.
1:36.06 she goes into that turn.
There we go, good long turn on the last turn.
Yeah, that's perfectly executed after the build-up from Tim there. And that surely has now secured her position to win this heat ahead of Emily Large. And I thought Kira Schlossen was maybe falling back a bit, but she's digging in there pretty well to stay not too far behind Emily. So that's going to be the 1-2-3. We'll see all three of them back tomorrow morning, I'm sure. Alice Thomas then taking the win in 2:10.51. Second, 2:11.70 for Emily. And third for Kira, 2:13.26. So it should be a good final tomorrow. There's going to be some good competition, I think, in that final tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be stacked across the middle of the pool. I mean, clearly from tonight's heats, then you know, Laura looks on paper to be the class act. She certainly will have gained a huge amount of confidence from that. I think probably the relay performance that she had on the last day of the European Championships, as you alluded to, the 57-5 split, has clearly given her a lot of confidence, maybe taking a little bit of pressure off her as well, to know that she can perform at this level. She certainly was surprised when she looked at the clock at the end of that heat, but she'll be the one that they're all gunning for tomorrow, and I think if she can do anything like repeat that tomorrow, I think that will be an outstanding swim.
So she'll be in lane 4, and you can see the top 8 there, down to Yasmin Perry in 8th spot. They'll be in the final, so we'll see them all and look forward to that tomorrow morning. Men's 200 butterfly will be following that in just a moment, as we see the ladies just picking up their stuff and making their way off stage.
Again, another event where there's still an Olympic slot that's available for grabs. Probably the two people to look out for outside of James Guy, who's not racing this today, but has got the time, is Ed Mildred, who's still a junior, and also Jay Lelliott as well, who again, for all the young observers, he's a lesson in starting and turning skills as well.
So you can see there the lineup for the first of the two heats. Again, it'll just be an A final in this one tomorrow, so you've got to be in the top 8. Adam Wilson will go in lane 2 for City of Sheffield. Thomas Payne, City of Manchester Aquatics, in lane 3. Ed Mildred of Northampton in 4. Michael Gunning of Stockport Metro is in 5. Jacob Greeno of Bath University in 6. Mark Ford, City of Glasgow, in lane 7. We've seen some pretty strong performances out of Northampton so far this week. I don't know anything really about the Northampton programme, so what are they doing right? They certainly seem to be doing some things right there.
Yeah, just been a recent change. So I mean, the programme was very much built on on the coaching prowess of Jackie Marshall. Jackie Marshall's actually just joined British Swimming as the head of pathways for the para program. So Jackie still has a small involvement in the program, just guiding the athletes through to the summer. But the new head coach is a guy called Andy Sharp. Andy's been in the program for a long period of time. You know, a program, just an honest program, just built on hard work and combination of Andy and Jackie has managed to produce some excellent swimmers, and you know, you see that across the para program as well, like Maisie Summers-Newton, but also with people like Ed Mildred as well. Betsy Wizard, who was in the last heat as well.
So Ed going in this one in lane 4 in the blue cap. Entry time for him 1:58.04. The Olympic consideration time 1:55.45. So he need to knock a bit over 2.5 seconds off his entry time if he is to challenge that.
This is a big ask for Ed. I mean, he's only junior age this year. He's sort of times he swims 1:58. Very, very competitive at junior level. He's been playing around with his pacing on this. That's certainly putting it out there 25.6 at 50. There's certainly no shortage of commitment and intent there.
Yeah. Has he been over bold, do you think, or can he keep this going?
Well, we'll see on the last 50. That's where it certainly tells. You know, but that's a high quality first 50. I mean, typically Ed would normally swim the first 50 high 26, even low 27. You know, so just trying some very different tactics here. But he's certainly given himself a chance of knocking some good time off.
So sub 30 on his second 50. So if he can keep this pace going, this will be special for Ed. Good contest going on behind him for second spot. There's, you can see in lane 5, Michael Gunning and Jacob Greenough beside him, just ahead of Mark Ford and Adam Wilson. Sorry, Thomas Payne in lane 3. So let's just check on the time, 1:26.06. And the pace just dropped a little bit in that third 50. Now let's see whether he can keep the pace going down this final length. How's he looking?
He's looking reasonably well. I mean, this last 25 will be tough. Just starting to tie up a little bit now. Now he's 31 low on that third 50. You know, he's got to be under 32 to swim a best time here. This back 50.
Seems to be finding a little bit more now just in these last few meters. The race for second looks like it's going to go Jacob Greenough's way, but that was a bold, brave swim there. 1:58.88 from Edward. Not quite inside the time he did in London, but he'll be expecting to push on from that tomorrow morning.
And the art of developing an athlete is sometimes you have to have different ways of racing your race. So, you know, sometimes you have to have the ability to go out fast with the race. Other times you look and you hold back a little bit and have the ability to finish strong as well. So as an 18-year-old athlete, to develop all those different ways of swimming the same race is an important attribute to have.
Is there an argument for saying that from his development point of view, he'd actually be better going to Rome than going to Tokyo? Or you know, you don't want to stop somebody's aspirations, obviously, of making the big boys team.
Well, you always want to try and find opportunities where an athlete can win, and somebody of Ed's quality, you know, that is certainly putting himself up against his own age group. But you also want to challenge them by giving them opportunities where they're a little bit more outside of the comfort zone and swimming against some stronger, faster swimmers, which is what Ed had when he went to the European Championships as well. And something that we've done for a number of years. So, you know, Duncan Scott was a good example of that. You know, at the same time as he was making Commonwealth Games teams for the first time, World Championship teams, he's still involved in junior swimming and doing European Junior Championships because he still needed to win some races.
So you can see there the lineup for heat number 2. Cold Hewitt going for Swansea University in lane 1. George Barber of the City of Sheffield in 2. James Woodward, Hatfield in 3. Jay Lelliott, City of Sheffield in 4. Tom Bealey of Plymouth Leander in 5. Benjamin Chuyen of Edinburgh University in 6. And Ruben Visder, City of Sheffield in 7. So 3 from Sheffield in this one. And perhaps all eyes on Jay Lelliott, the runner-up in the British Trials, but outside the consideration time by about 1.3 seconds. So we'll see whether he can build on that. If not tonight, then tomorrow. So the swimmers coming up to the blocks now and getting themselves ready. Can anyone challenge Jay Lelliott, do you think, here? James Woodward has swum pretty well this week. Tom Bealey, an experienced 200 fly swimmer. Scott did learnt his trade in Aberdeen, then gone to the other side, end of the country pretty much, to Plymouth to progress to senior swimming.
Yeah, I think on paper, Tom would be the obvious choice. Tom's got international experience. He swam European Juniors as well. You're right. He made a sort of a significant move from very north to very, very south. I don't think he's probably raced or performed as well this season as he would have hoped for, but he's certainly somebody that's typically had a strong back part of his race. So he'll be the obvious challenge for Jay. I think the more interesting race will be probably tomorrow morning when we see Ed Mildred, particularly if he has the same sort of tactics as we saw in that last heat there, where he really pushes things forwards, and Jay will come back strong.
So let's see how this develops. Jay Lelliott in lane 4, one of the 3 red-capped Sheffield swimmers, and straight away has the slight advantage, maybe half a metre coming down the first length from James Woodward, I think, just holding second place, and Ruben Vista looking pretty strong as well. Sheffield swimmer in lane 7, but it is Lelliott who leads them through 26.52, so taking it a little more calmly than Ed Mildred, maybe in that first 50, around 9/10 back on Ed's time, but maybe a different tactic being invoked here, that he'll perhaps push it on and drive hard through this race rather than front-ending it.
Yeah, I mean, Jay's not as quick on the 100 fly as Ed is anyway, so he doesn't quite have the same sort of scope to go out super quick, but 56.6, that's a pretty solid 100-meter split. He can swim a quality time off the back of that.
So pretty much bang on 30 seconds for his second 15, and certainly driving away from the rest of the field. And well, looks like it's Cole Hewitt now, maybe just got second from Ruben Vista, but well, this is really Jay Lelliott and the clock as we come up to 150. 127.18, so still about a second back on Ed Mildred. Let's see if he can really drive it home down this last 50.
He'll be about the same time, I think, at the end of the 2. He'll have a slightly stronger back 50. That's typically the way Jay races anyway, so they'll be pretty much on the same time leading into the final tomorrow.
So that time, just a reminder, 158.84 that we saw from Ed. So you can see the clock there coming towards that, and let's see, just slightly faster, 158.55, so very much faster than Ed in that final 50, so he was a second back going into it, and then slightly faster at the end of it, so around about maybe 1.3 faster on that last 50. So it's going to be very interesting tomorrow with those different tactics, assuming Ed swims it in the same way that he did tonight. And Jay will clearly then be playing catch-up, you would expect, in the second half, but he'll know what he'll has to do, and perhaps that would give him maybe a slight edge, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll just be just 2 very different sets of tactics tomorrow, which will make for an interesting spectacle. Those 2 guys are somewhat ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, you certainly see it as a head-to-head race, and then the others going for third place. So confirmation there of the top 8. And the remaining 3 on that second screen. We'll go back to the top screen. So Lelliott, Mildred, Greeno gunning for Visda, Woodward and Hewitt. But, well, the race, you can see 5 seconds pretty much separating the top 2 from the rest of the field. So looking forward to that one tomorrow morning, actually. I think it's going to be fascinating. Women's 200 freestyle is next up, and we've got 3 heats here.
Perhaps a surprise gold medal at the European Championships, this women's 4x2 team. So certainly made the mark.
Yeah, so just looking at the swimmers who swam in that final, they're all here. Holly Hibbert would go in the first heat, then we've got Lucy Hope in the second heat, and then Freya Anderson and Tamrin Van Selm going in the third heat. And then, of course, we had swimmers in the heats as well. The likes of Emma Russell goes in lane 5 in this first heat.
I think in the second heat as well, we need to look out for Candice Hall. Candice had a really strong 200 medley heat yesterday. Chose not to swim the final this morning. I would imagine she's focusing her attentions on this 200 freestyle. She swam sub 2 minutes at the London trial. So, again, I think she'll be wanting to put her name into the reckoning should the selectors choose to take the women's 4x2 team to Tokyo.
Yes, that's going to be an interesting discussion for the selectors, I think, on that one. As, I think, am I right in saying it would rank them currently about 5th or 6th or something like that, the worldwide, that swim in the Europeans, so probably an unlikely shout for a medal, but certainly a final spot.
Yeah, I think the two women's relays, I mean, clearly the ranking of the women's 4x1 team slightly higher than the women's 4x2. Selectors are going to have plenty to consider when they meet off the back of this meet. So it's as to whether there's anything that happens tonight, tomorrow morning that also influences their discussions as well, or somebody stands up and does something exceptional.
Yep, so let's see. There is also one individual place up for grabs. Freya Anderson has one. Of course, we'll be hoping for big things from her. We'll have to wait to Heat 3 to see her. The line-up here, Maisie Elliott of Plymouth Leander in 2, Betsy Wizard of Northampton in 3, Holly Hibbert in 4 for Bath University, Emma Russell of University of Stirling in 5, Lauren Wetherill of Ellsworth College in 6, and the para-swimmer Tony Shaw from Aberdeen Performance, S9, goes in lane 7, the only para-swimmer in this event. You can certainly expect her to be at the Paralympics, probably more on the fly than but she's a very capable freestyler as well. Holly Hibbert, though, leads the way by not too much from Emma Russell, Betsy Wizard, Lauren Wetherill. Halfway point, 59.45.
That's a solid first 100. I mean, Holly doesn't have a lot of natural 100-metre speed, so she's always going to rely on her endurance through the back part of her swims. She's more of a 400-metre athlete, dropping down to the 2. Usually helps her when she's in a race with the likes of Freya and Lucy, because they tend to take the race out a little bit quicker. Helps her to get out quicker as well.
Emma Russell coming back a little bit at her. So into the 150, 130, 48 for Holly, 130.90 for Emma. But, well, Holly coming out of that turn just builds that lead back up to nearly a body length. Emma perhaps just slightly, again, eating into it. In fact, she's definitely eating into it now. 15-metre markers there, and it's suddenly getting a bit close here. Looks like Holly, though, is doing enough just to keep Emma in sight and just a little bit behind her, and that's how it works out. 2:01.72 and 2:01.82, perhaps a bit closer than, well, I thought it was going to be anyway, with 50 to go. Good solid swim from Emma, pretty close to her entry time. Holly a little bit off. Third place, Betsy Wizard, just ahead of Lauren Wetherill.
Huge contrast here. You know, Holly's got lots and lots of international experience. Holly was a great junior. She's been on the circuit now really since 2014. Contrast that with Emma. Really, she's an absolute novice at almost national level, let alone international level. But conducted herself really well in Budapest. Added plenty of value to the team, and she's just going to go from strength to strength.
Yes, first season at Stirling after learning her trade at Heart of Midlothian under coach Phil Potter. So we'll be very interesting to see how she can develop, and she'll, I think, be pretty happy with that, and it should book her a place in tomorrow morning's final. Still getting used to tomorrow morning's final, not tonight's final. I think just about getting there. How are the athletes finding that? So obviously they had last night going into the morning. For a lot of them, it'll be the first time I would guess that they'll have swum morning finals, because the Tokyo-bound swimmers are going to have to do that. I mean, what's the feedback you're getting in terms of how they're rising to that challenge?
Look, there's a real positive mentality around the British team at the moment. You know, it's the performances in London, backed up by Budapest, really keep the momentum rolling. So, you know, we don't talk about morning finals, we just talk about finals. Okay. You know, this is just about moving from heats, doing what's needed in a heat, doing what's needed in a semi-final, putting yourself in the right place in the race, and then making sure you prepare properly for the final. You know, the timing of it is really just a byproduct of when you need to perform. So I think the mindset here has been let's get in, let's swim a really strong heat, and let's just make sure we move things on in the final. And to be fair, give them all credit. You know, it was an exceptional set of finals this morning.
So Heat 2 getting themselves ready now. Erin Little, Mount Kelly goes in lane 2. Freya Colbert, Nova Centurion in 3. Lucy Hope, Edinburgh University in 4. Candice Hall of Loughborough University in 5. Bea Varley of Plymouth Leander in 6. And Isabel Goodwin of City of Leeds in lane 7.
There's a real smattering of juniors in this as well. 3 juniors, 3 athletes that could make the European junior team. Girls in lanes 2, 3 and 7. It'll be interesting to see the sort of times that they post.
Yep, the 200 free time 2:02.79. So off we go. Lucy Hope, because key part of that relay set of performances in Budapest. We'll be looking to push this one out. Pretty versatile across the short to middle distances, 50, 100, 200. And she has the edge over Candice Hall, who you called, Tim, as saying could be up for a big swim here.
Lucy had a great meet to the Europeans. You know, I think the confidence that Lucy got early on in the meet, swimming 53 on the 100 freestyle lead off, you know, I think it just did a huge power of good.
And she's just gradually building that lead over Candice now. She was 3rd in the British trials on this one. Did her time 1:57.65 there. Turns at halfway, 58.68. So that is a bit faster than Holly's split. You'd expect that, I guess. Lucy more of a sprinter than Holly.
Yeah, Holly will always struggle to get a really strong front end. You know, she'll be reliant on some of the other girls to make the pace for her and then try and pick them off further in the race. Whereas Lucy has a reputation for front end in the swim and committing hard at the front.
So 1:28.95. She goes into the final 50. So I guess now it is just about driving it home. She's only going to win this heat. Candice will not get to her. Good three-way contest for 3rd developing. Freya Colbert in 3, just behind Erin Little in 2, and very much in the mix, Bea Varley as well in lane 6. And it's Bea Varley, I think, is the one who's most likely to get that one. We'll see as they come in, but it's Lucy Hope's race, 1:59.08. So just a 2.5 away from her entry time, and fastest so far with 1 heat to go. Second place was Candice Hall, 2:01.41, and was Bea Varley taking 3rd. Not by much in the end, just a 10th ahead of Erin Little. 2:03.98 and 2:04.08. So we should see those results confirmed for you. There they are. Freya Colbert also on 2:04, and Isabel Goodwin just back on that. But 1:59.08, so that's the time to beat for the final heat. So do you think anyone can get into that 1:57 sort of pacing tomorrow morning that is needed to join Freya? I think that feels like a big ask.
I think it's a big ask. You know, I think the girls that have already been confirmed on the Olympic team, they'll be working hard again. The people that haven't been as yet, if they went to the Europeans, there's probably still a bit of residual fatigue there as well. You know, I was surprised how well Lucy swam there and how good she looked down the back 50 because she committed hard, but also swam well on the back end as well. But for any of the other girls to swim 1:57 will be a big ask tomorrow morning.
Well, the swimmers coming up then for heat number 3. There's the lineup. Katie Shannon back in the water after her 400 IM. Goes in lane 2 for City of Glasgow. The Luxembourg swimmer Monique Olivier goes for Edinburgh University in lane 3. Then we have Freya Anderson for Bath National Centre in lane 4. Tamrin Van Selm of Millfield School in 5. Kate Clifton of City of Sheffield in 6. And Evelyn Davis of Bromley in lane 7. So that's 2 swimmers with a sub 2 minute entry time. Of course, Freya on 1:56. Joe Jackson's British record 1:55.54. I think that could go this year. Not today, I don't think, or tomorrow morning, but in Tokyo.
I think there's every chance that can go. I mean, that was a high quality time at the time, and it's one of our longest standing records now. But you know, Freya has all the attributes in the right race. She'll do something special.
Let's see what she does here. So the 6 swimmers off and running. So those long arms of Freya Anderson just pulling herself straight away into the lead. She obviously is a very tall girl, and that is an advantage, but you've got to know how to use it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this, I mean, Freya's been on the scene now for a number of years, came through in 2016, first European Juniors. Ironically, she was selected as a breaststroke athlete and swam the freestyle events and surprised everybody by winning the 100 freestyle there, and really has gone from strength to strength. Made a really smooth transition from the junior to senior ranks. And then she's joined here by, you know, 3 girls that are looking to do exactly the same. Katie Shanahan, Tamrin Van Selm and Evie Davis. Those 3 girls all went to the Europeans. Tamrin and Evie were both coached by David Court at Bromley. Tam chose to move to Millfield School at the start of this academic year.
So at the moment it is Tamrin in the green cap, just ahead of Monique Olivier, and then Evie in the white cap in lane 7. What do you think of her more of 100 and the 50 than the 200 for Evelyn Davis?
I think so. It's still early in her development at the moment. You know, certainly she's got a real focus and prowess on the 100. To be a pure sprinter on the 50, you've got to have high rate. You know, so I think only time will tell whether technically she's more suited to move up to the 2 or down to the 50 from the 100 as well.
So Tamrin having a tackle Freya here, and looks like Freya might, well, I was going to say might be prepared to let her go past, but no, I don't think so. Let's see who gets the touch. It was pretty, well, in fact, it was Tamrin that got the touch by 200. So I think Freya probably felt that she could see her off there in those last few meters, but no. But I think pretty relaxed swim from Freya there, and I expect her to be quite a bit faster than that tomorrow morning.
I would imagine so, but I think it's, you know, it's healthy, the fact that we've got some good junior athletes that are constantly poking and prodding away and making sure the senior athletes don't rest on their laurels. Yeah,
and 2:01 for a 17-year-old is not at all shabby, is it? It's very impressive. And we know that she can go faster than that, of course. Monique Olivier taking 3rd, 2:02.14. So another good swim from her. I think set a Luxembourg record at last year's Edinburgh International, 2:00.71 that she was entered in, so she wasn't far from that. And I imagine we'll be seeing her in Tokyo for Luxembourg. There's confirmation of the top 8, so Kate Clifton is in, and number 8, Evelyn Davis and B. Varley just missing out. Not sure, have we got enough swimmers for B final? I need to do a bit of counting here. I think we just have, I think if my counting is right, we've got 17, which is what is required. So as long as there's not a withdrawal, then I think perhaps we will have a B final there. So they will get a second swim. Of course, would much rather be in the senior final. But, well, you've got to take them where they come. So all para affair now in the first heat of men's 200 freestyle. 3 swimmers in it. Lyndon Longhorn with the lowest classification, S4 from Derwent's side, will go in lane 3. Then Ollie Carter, the S10 swimmer from the University of Stirling, in lane 4, and the S14 swimmer Jack Milne in lane 5. A couple more para swimmers to come. Louis Lawler will go in the next heat, and Thomas Hamer in the final heat. Both S14s. So it could be a pretty tight contest, you would think, between Ollie and Jack here, both well within half a second of each other on entry times, S10 versus S14. And then Lyndon will be looking to swim his own race. He'll be considerably behind the other two, but not necessarily when it comes to para points. Leading the way early on is Ollie Carter. As I said, S10 swimmer. Second at the British Swimming Invitational meet in Manchester in the multi-classification event. And he is around 3 meters clear here from the S14 swimmer Jack Milne. So through halfway, 1:00:53. So a pretty healthy lead, over 3 seconds here. And that seems to be building all the way here. It's been a really hard worker, Ollie. He's been knocking away at the well-known para commentator Paul Noble. Has a string of Scottish records, and they're gradually being knocked away by Ollie in the S10 classification. So we'll see whether, I'm not sure whether this is another one. So if you're watching Paul, look out. 2:02.89, as I said, 1:31.89 with 50 to go, so he's going to be pretty close to that.
This is certainly a fully committed swim, heat swim from Ollie. He's certainly not going to be too far off his entry time here.
So coming up to the final 5, just clock goes into 2 minutes. So can he get under 2:02.89? Not quite, 2:03.55. Maybe just faded a little bit in that final 50 after pushing it hard through the rest of the race. Jack Milne looking a little bit weary as he comes in. So his time 2:13.15. So now we see Lyndon coming up towards the 150. So he's still got lots of work to do. We'll get his split at the 150 mark. 3:37 his entry time. 2:36, so he's got every chance of getting inside 3:37, you would think, based on that split.
Every chance, I would suggest.
He holds the British record for S4. It is his entry time, 3:37.70, so could be on for a para record here. Let's see if he can push it on hard, because one of the problems, of course, no spectators here to really get behind him, because on some of these occasions that's what these athletes need, and they're on their own. They need something, some stimulus. But Lyndon is an experienced campaigner. He'll know what he has to do. So let's just see where we're at. We don't have a running clock here, so we're just going to have to wait for the final split. And he comes in 3:34.46. So congratulations to him. New British S4 record. So excellent stuff. Well done, Lyndon. He has made good progress this year. He's been knocking good chunks off his S4 records across a range of events. So we've not been strong historically in the lower classification, been very strong in sort of S14s and S10s, S9s, S8s, that sort of thing. And of course, the girls on S6, we're very, very strong indeed. But once you get down below 5, not so much. Do you think we can get that moving along?
I think it's also always the case of looking at where your opportunities are. My understanding, talking to the para program, is the makeup of the team is starting to evolve a little bit into some of the lower classes as well. But of course, in Paralympic sport, it's always about trying to identify, and the same as Olympic sport, where your best opportunities lie.
So into heat 2 then, line up on the screen. The swimmers just waiting their opportunity to come out while we go through, obviously making sure that the para swimmers are well looked after and the correct cleaning processes are done. And here they come. So the line-up: Ben Cope of City of Sheffield in lane 1, Thomas Flower of Richmond Dales in 2, Stephen Milne at the University of Stirling in 3, Matt Richards of Bath National Centre in 4, Joe Litchfield of Loughborough National Centre in 5, Jacob Goodman of Loughborough University in 6, Joel Thompson at Ellesmere College in 7, Louis Lawler swimming S14 for City of Glasgow in lane 8.
There's going to be one or two notable athletes over this next 3 heats that haven't yet secured the place on the Tokyo team, that's still shooting for the stars. So the notable experienced athlete here is Stephen Milne, clearly.
Yep, Olympian in Rio. London, I can't remember. Was he in London?
He was a Rio athlete, not a London athlete.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Looking in this heat as well, I do know Joe Litchfield. He's looking to make a mark. He's been selected for the 200 medley for Tokyo, but he's a quality freestyle athlete. He's looking to make his mark, I think, tonight and post something reasonable. So he's in the eyes of the selectors for when the relay squads are announced.
And of course, Matt Richards, very much there or thereabouts. Welshman now based in Bath. So he goes in lane 4 as the fastest 1:45.77. That was a new Welsh record, in fact, as he set out the trials. Milne goes in 3, Litchfield in 5 rather. Great start from Joe Litchfield in the white cap. Straight away, about best part of a metre up and holding that down the first length over Matt Richards. After that, it's tight. It goes through in 24.75. Richards trying to make some inroads into that lead, but not really doing it at the moment.
I think Joe will be shooting. He's from 1:47 low at the trials. I think he'll be looking to be there or thereabouts that sort of time again.
52.14, halfway mark. Leads by 3/4 of a second. Richards and Milne behind him still, followed by Thomas Flower in lane 2 and Jacob Goodman in lane 6. Joe Litchfield really pushing this one out pretty hard here. He's built his lead up to 2.5 meters or so. 1:19.99.
What a great last turn there for Joe. One of his trademarks is the amount of distance he gets on that last turn.
So it's certainly going to be his race very comfortably. Let's see what the time is. It's going to be pretty good. 1:47.04, so just inside his entry time. So I think ticks the box of what he would have wanted to achieve there, I would have thought. Second place was Matt Richards, 1:49.05, and Stephen Milne third, 1:49.90. We'll need to just keep an eye on that 1:49.90 third place time, because that could be a, certainly he would be very disappointed if he didn't make the A final. But, well, let's see if that is good enough.
Really strong swim for Joe there. I think in his own mind, I think the difference between swimming 1:46.99, those 5 100s, will have been huge for him. He'd love to have had the 4 and the 6 numbers at the start and not the 4 and the 7. But a really strong swim. You know, I probably expected a slightly stronger commitment on the first 100. You know, actually, he was a little bit conservative and came back really quick down that last 50.
And as far as Matt was concerned, as saving his powder a little bit?
A little bit. You know, we can sometimes forget that Matt's a very, very young athlete. You know, he's literally just out of the junior ranks. You know, he's moved a long way forwards. Coached excellently by Mark Spatman, Royal Wolverhampton School for a long period of time. But he was one of the athletes through the return to training phase that took up an opportunity to train in Bath and chose to stay there. I think he probably surprised one or two people at the London trials with how quick he did swim. Everybody knew he was a talented boy. Swim 1:45 and 48 low on the 100 was exceptional swimming. You know, so have to be careful that we don't expect too much from him every time he jumps in the pool. But he's certainly not let anybody down at all. He's
no, that's for sure. So the swimmers for Heat 3 now out at the blocks. And the lineup is Joshua Williams of Wickham District in 1, Harry Constantine of Hatfield in 2, Max Litchfield of Loughborough National Centre in 3, Tom Dean of Bath National Centre in 4, and his teammates Callum Jarvis in 5, Kieran Bird in 6. Thomas Watkin goes in 7 for City of Sheffield, and Charlie Brown, Loughborough University in 8.
This will be a tough heat for Callum Jarvis. You know, Callum, highly experienced international. He typically doesn't swim quite so quick in season. The sort of athlete that when he's got fatigue in his muscles, he struggles to find form. But again, always does a great job when he's rested for the big race. Does a brilliant job for British swimming. So I think he'll find this tough. I think this heat.
Because he is one of the swimmers that was in the selection announcement after the trials. So from that point of view, the pressure's off for him. But certainly not shaved for this one. And Kieran Bird's another interesting one here. Probably think of him for longer distance than 200. But what can he do? Can he do something in 200?
Again, I think, Kieran did a huge amount of work leading into the London trials. I think he was probably the surprise of the male performances in London. His 3:46.0 on the 400 freestyle was not anything that most people would have expected. Kieran, again, will have gone back in to do some work, so I think he'll find the pace here a little bit too hot for him. You know, he's got potential on the 200 freestyle, but probably not something we're going to see today or tomorrow morning.
Well, we'll see how it works out. It's the white cap of Tom Dean who's going to lead them through. Time of 24:92. Slightly slower than Joe Litchfield in the previous heat, but not that much. Just on his shoulder is Max Litchfield. So he'd probably fancy a chance at being on that 4x2 team, you would think, along with his brother. And going nicely is Charlie Brown in lane 8, trying to get into the top 3 with Litchfield behind Dean at the halfway mark. 52.85 is Tom Dean's split. Again, around about 6-7 tenths behind Joe Litchfield's split. Max very much on his shoulder here as we see them come down towards the 150. These two with a bit of a gap now over Jarvis, and in lane 2 Harry Constantine. So it is Max Litchfield who's the one who's putting the pressure onto Tom Dean here, and the two now stroke for stroke down this final length. So are they going to really push and race to try and get the win here? Well, certainly Max is. He fancies this one. Is he going to get it? It's going to be on the touch, and whoa, Tom Dean got it. Well, I thought it was going to go the other way, I must admit. 148.10 against 148.12. Callum Jarvis third, 150.65. So that was a really interesting one.
Yeah, it's probably, you know, that shows the sort of confidence that Max is swimming with at the moment. He's always been a quality 200, 400 freestyler. Haven't seen him race those events for probably a number of years since his 200, 400 medley have come to the fore. But he was used as a relay alternate in Budapest and did a great job there.
So he'll maybe want to have his name in the frame for that, if not for the top 4 in Tokyo.
Well, it's always good that the team has a number of options, and clearly you want to, as far as possible, ensure that you can keep your big hitters as fresh as possible for when you really need them. So if we've got a squad of athletes that are very competent and can ease us through heats, that's clearly a strategy you want to work through.
And how did Tom strike you on that one?
I mean, Tom's had a bit of a challenging year. I mean, it's not been plain sailing for Tom. But I think, you know, we were blown away with the quality of his 200 freestyle at the London trials. You know, the Dean Scott 200 freestyle race, you know, with a huge supporting cast there was something we'd not seen domestically for well, we've probably never seen domestically. So, you know, Tom's in a really good place, but he's a young lad still. You know, he's.
Yeah, I think Duncan got the fright of his life on that race, didn't he? On down that final 50, it was very, very close at the end.
Yeah, and I think you know, it's what will keep Duncan on his toes, and it will make sure that Duncan is the best version of himself when it matters as well. It ensures no complacency at all. You know, we're looking at this last heat come to the blocks now, and you know, with Duncan and James Guy, who again World Championship gold medalist as part of a 4x2 team in the past. Cam Curl, who went to the Olympics in Rio, who's not yet qualified for the Tokyo team, so he'll have a point to prove as well. So this won't be a shabby last heat.
No, so the lineup here: Will Riley goes in 1 for Bath University, then 3 from Stirling University. It's Regan Lloyd in 2, Cameron Curl in 3, Duncan Scott in 4, then James Guy of Bath University goes in 5, Jacob Whittle, the youngster from Deventio, in 6, William Bell of Loughborough University in 7, and our final para swimmer, Thomas Haymoth, this 14 swimmer, goes for Burnley Bobcats in lane 8. So Duncan Scott was pushed all the way, as we said in the British trials, pushed all the way to a British record, silver medalist in Europe, bronze in the World Championships back in 2019. So he was not particularly fast in the individual medley heats yesterday, and then turned it on much more this morning to win in the final. So it'd be interesting to see what he does here, whether he takes it easy or whether he pushes out hard.
Yeah, I think Duncan's, you know, he's another athlete in the space where he's just managing his fatigue. You know, the number of hard hits he can have right at this period of time is somewhat limited. If he goes too hard too often, you know, there's always a chance that he'll put himself into a deep hole. He won't want to do that. So I'm sure Duncan will be very, very careful at managing his energy here and doing what he needs to do, but not an awful lot more than that.
So you mentioned Cam Curl as one who perhaps has a point to prove here, and he's certainly out very fast there in lane 3, 24.82. So he's the one making the early move. Then we've got Duncan Scott in lane 4. Moment looking easy in second place with James Guy just on his shoulder.
Yeah, so Cam will be fully prepped for this meet. This will be his, in fact, his last chance to make the Olympic team. So, you know, he'll have done everything. He'll be rested. He'll be shaved for this.
Certainly fastest that we've seen at the 100 mark, 51.44, and really pushing it out strong here. And the others at the moment prepared to let him do that, with Scott and Guy side by side now, ahead of Jacob Whittle in lane 6. Maybe it's starting to hurt for Cameron Curl here. Let's see as he goes through the 150, 118.78.
Oh, that's pretty sharp, you know. 118.7. You have every chance of swimming 146, 146 low off that. Just how much he's got left in the tank down his back 50. He's certainly put himself in the right place to swim a great time.
So there's no doubt he's going to take this one. It's pretty tight now for second, third and fourth. I think Duncan Scott might just hold off Jimmy Guy, but 146.62, and some well-deserved applause ringing round. Fairly sparse, mainly really from the athletes, I guess that came from, because we've got no spectators, but nice to hear some applause of that performance from Cameron there. Half a second inside his submitted entry time, and I think he has, that was of course inside the Olympic consideration time, but because that's already full for the individual slots, but certainly puts himself in consideration for the selectors to think about in the 4x2.
And that's really all he can do now. You know, it's easy to become blasé about a 146.6, but that's a quality swim.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we've got such a stock of athletes that can swim that sort of time, and in some cases slightly quicker than that. Like I said, it means that we don't appreciate sometimes what a quality swim that is.
So we've seen the full results just scrolling through here, and we'll go back and just check on the top 8. So unfortunately Stephen Milne does miss out and has to settle for the B final. Matt Richards just getting in, along with Curl, Litchfield, Dean, another Litchfield, Scott, Guy and Whittle.
It's a pretty stacked final tomorrow morning.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so make sure you're here for that one, because we start at 10 o'clock. It'll be well through by the time we get to that 200 freestyle. So it's Saturday morning. You can, no excuse really. You can mow the grass in the afternoon, and all the other jobs that no doubt you've got for the weekend. But don't miss it. That's going to be a good one. There's going to be a lot of good ones actually tomorrow morning, but certainly that's there. So back to the other end of the pool now. 50 backstroke. We don't have to worry about Olympic selections in this one.
I think what will be important here, we've got Georgia Davis in the first heat. So Georgia again is an athlete that hasn't been selected for the Olympic team as yet. She's up against some quality backstrokers in Kathleen Dawson and Cassie Wild as well on the 100. But it'll be important for Georgia just to settle herself into the meet, to post a reasonable 50-metre backstroke, just to give herself the confidence to attack the 100 tomorrow.
And if anything, 50 probably is her event, isn't it? It's just unfortunate for her that it's not an Olympic event. She's performed with great distinction at Commonwealths and Worlds at the 50.
Absolutely. In fact, she only just lost her British record, I think, in Budapest to Kathleen. So, a huge track record, been an extremely successful international for the Welsh and the British teams.
So the line up here, Ellie Challis, the S3 swimmer, will go in lane 1. Ellie Turner of Perth City in 2, Kate Mills of Loughborough University in 3. Then it's Georgia Davis of Swansea University, Tatiana Tostvin of Millfield in lane 5, Sophie Shaw of Mid Sussex in 6, and Ellis Shields of Edinburgh University in lane 7. So Georgia's entry time is much faster than anybody else in this, 27.65. So you'd think when we get to tomorrow morning, it will be Davis, Dawson and Wild that will be battling it out. You'd expect. But, well, they've got to get there first, so make sure there's no slip-ups. Just settling things and making sure everything's set for this final. Of course, got to make sure that the starting equipment's all set at the other end. We've got the Paralympian Ellie Chalice. We're going to make sure she's comfortable and ready to go. She certainly looks as if she is. Not quite sure what the delay is here, but should be underway shortly. Oh, looks like there's one of our pool staff here just having a wee look at lane 4, and something's not right there.
I'm sure after the experiences of the European Championships where Kathleen had to swim a 100 backstroke final twice, they'll want to make sure that there's no issues with the technical starting equipment at all.
Yep, so that of course was the speaker at the blocks, wasn't it, I believe, for one of the swimmers?
It was. There was a problem in lane 8 which caused an issue in 2 consecutive races, one involving the Swedish swimmer Louise Hansen, which was the reason Kathleen's race was re-swum. There was actually a subsequent issue in the men's 200 backstroke semi-final next, which actually impacted on the British swimmer Brodie Williams that time.
Yeah, so this looks like we've got a little bit of patchwork to do on that pad. There's a bit of sticky tape is required, and it doesn't seem to be sticky enough at the moment. That's certainly lane 4 is, well, you don't want an issue in any lane, and you want to make sure that the conditions are right. Yeah, that was pretty gutsy for Kathleen to have to go and do that again. And then, of course, a day or two later, she went and broke the European record, didn't she, in the 100 backstroke and the lead-off and the relay. So, class effort all round, wasn't it?
I think so. And, I mean, high-performance sport, you always try and think through the what-if scenarios. What are we going to do if this happens? Probably don't think it's something that we'd really thought might be a consideration of a final being re-swum. I think in all my time in sport, I'm not sure I've really seen that before. So, but credit to the 2 British girls involved, both Kathleen and Cassie Wild. It was, you know, we're going again, we can go again, we will go again, and we'll be at least as good the second time we go as the first time. So that sort of can-do mentality is something that, you know, is something which is seen through the British team now, and I think is probably, you know, starts to set us apart in terms of our performances from what we've been able to achieve in the past.
Yeah, it must have been a bit gutting when she found out that there was a problem after she'd taken the plaudits and a European gold in her grasp. But
absolutely, yes. I mean, credit to Stephen Tigg, the coach of the 2 girls, you know, who was unwavering in the messages that he gave to them both. The British swimming support team that were able to put those girls in the right place again, recover them, fuel them, prime them, ready to go again. And like I said, I think in hindsight now, it's a huge takeaway from the 2 girls to know that they can do that, come back and repeat.
Yep. Of course, it would have been a different matter if it had been a longer race. So I think if that had happened in a 400 IM or something, then what would they have done? I suppose they'd have to go the next day, would they? Or
I would imagine so. You know, I think my understanding was that there was no question as to whether the race would happen. It was more the timing of the race. Of course, the challenge was the women's 200 backstroke did start the next day, so to delay the final by another 24 hours would have simply cut across a 200 backstroke heat and semi-final, which really wasn't as a possibility.
No. So it looks like we are good to go now after a bit of quick repair work by the Glasgow Life staff. So hopefully that's not bothered the athletes too much. away we go. So Georgia in the bright red cap. Certainly a hot favourite for this heat, and already a body length clear of the rest of the field. Kate Mills, Tatiana Tostevin and Sophie Shaw battling it out for second, but this is Georgia against the clock now. Let's see what she can do. 27.65 entry time. That was her time from the World Championships in 2019, and she comes in 27.92, so swam that pretty hard there. Second place was Sophie Shaw, and third Tatiana Tostevin. Here is Ali Chalice. Is the S3 British record holder, 55.61. So we've seen one para British record go tonight. Let's see what Ellie can do here. 58.31, so a little bit outside that, but there is another para swimmer to come, so presumably there'll be a para final in this. Oh no, in fact I'm not sure there will be, because, well, it is a para event for Ellie, but it's not for Abby Kane, so my guess is that they will run it if she wants to swim it. She may not, if she is on her own. I'm not sure how that works. Will Abby still get the chance to swim the final, even though it's not a para event for her classification?
No, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
No, well, watch this space and we'll find out. So there is the lineup, and there is Abby Kane, the S13 swimmer from the University of Stirling. Lauren Bradley Holt goes in lane 2 for City of Salford. Leah Whitaker of Mount Kelly, junior swimmer, in lane 3. Then Kathleen Dawson, we were talking about, goes for University of Stirling in 4, with Cassie Wilde, her teammate, beside her. Rachel Saunders of Warrender in 6, and Holly McGill of Heart of Midlothian in 7. So a little Edinburgh contest there in lane 6 and 7. Stirling contest in the middle lanes. So the standard set by Georgia, 27.92, and it is Kathleen Dawson who is leading here. Certainly she's not got it as easy in terms of competition that Georgia had, with Cassie Wilde, well, 1.5 meters maybe behind us, so a pretty comprehensive victory for Kathleen, and she was faster than Georgia, 27.67. Very much you would think going to be a head-to-head in the final between those two. Second place was Cassie Wilde, 28.77, so not far away from her entry time, although she did a 27.85 in that fourth place spot in the Europeans. Third place, Leah Whitaker, who's had some good swims so far this week, 29.45, so inside her entry time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Georgia's tactics as well for tomorrow morning. You know, part of me would think that she's just here to get the best result on the 100 as possible. So what she's looking to achieve by racing again tomorrow morning, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But it'd certainly be an interesting contest if she chooses to go between herself and Kathleen.
But if she could beat Kathleen in the 50, that would be a good confidence builder for her as well, you would think.
Yeah, and she's very much a confidence athlete, Georgia is. You know, she'll be very critical of her performance.
So our final event of the evening is the men's 50 backstroke. We've got 3 heats in this one. 5 athletes going here. Louis Lawler, S14 for City of Glasgow in 2. Jonathan Adam of Bath National Centre in 3. Scott Gibson of Edinburgh University in 4. Xavi Castelli of the City of Cardiff in 5. And Cameron Brooker of Wickham District in 6. In fact, we've got an empty lane in lane 3, so no Jonathan Adam. A good 3-way battle going on. Gibson, Castelli and Brooker. Who's going to get the touch? I think it's going to be Gibson. It is indeed, 25.76. Very close to his entry time, just a 10th away from that. Second was Cameron Brooker, and third Xavi Castelli. 26 dead and 26.13 respectively. Louis Lawler, the para swimmer, 28.58. So he's well, about a second half away from his entry time. But backstroke probably is his forte, but maybe a bit longer than 50, which of course isn't a para event for the S14s. He'll be looking to impress in the 100.
Good best time by Cameron Brooker there. So he swam sub 2 minutes for the 200 backstroke for the first time ever this morning. It was again a big milestone for the 200 backstroke lads. Technically, you know, one of the most superb technicians that we have, but he's still a young lad. He's going to fill out a little bit more, and he's going to get an awful lot quicker. But that was a big drop on the 50 there, from 26.7 down to 26.0. So it's always looking good for Cameron.
Yeah, 0.7 is big in the context of a 50, isn't it?
No, it's huge. It's huge.
So the second heat now, Samuel Peace of University of Stirling in 2, Luke Greenbank. This is a short distance for him. Loughborough National Centre in 3, Nick Pyle of University of Stirling in 4, Daniel Cross of Loughborough University in 5, Mark Ford, City of Glasgow in 6, Nicholas Skelton of Abingdon Vale in 7.
And we saw Luke's younger brother, Sam Greenbank, swimming this afternoon in the junior. He had a really great swim.
Very nice swimmer he had, yes. So we've had, I was talking with Alan Lynn about, could we see a time when we've got 2 Greenbanks in a British team as we've got 2 Litchfields? Not just for a wee while perhaps, but let's see how this works out. Luke Greenbank, I'm not sure as to see him too often in a 50, but he is looking like he might just take it. Obviously trying to work on his speed here for the cause in the medley relay, and a good solid swim there, 25.97, inside his entry time, 26.14. Nick Pyle in second, Daniel Cross in third, 26.29 and 26.47 for them. Is that what it's about there for Luke there, about trying to sort of build on his speed?
It is. I mean, Luke's opportunities in Tokyo are clear on the 200 backstroke. I mean, he's the number of quality 200s he's put out this season is becoming a fairly lengthy list now. But you know, we also have to recognise that the men's medley team, you know, the combination of mostly Luke with Adam, with James Guy and Duncan, you know, is a world championship gold medal winning team. So anything that we can do to push Luke forwards on that front 100 just gives us, you know, a better chance of converting in Tokyo as well.
So the last race of the evening, and it's heat 3 of the 50 backstroke. Robbie Hemmings will go in lane 2 for Poole. 3 is Elliot Clogg, Loughborough National Centre. Liam White of Swansea University in 4. Martin Walton of University of Stirling in 5. Harry Turner, Swansea University in 6. And Zach Speakman of Royal Wolverhampton School in lane 7. So the marker from Scott Gibson, 25.76. Fastest from the first 2 heats. Oh, we've got a wee issue again. They all have to relax. And this time it's a different lane. It looks like it's lane 3.
Yep.
We're just playing around with it, I think. Oh, something's not right with the wedge.
Swap the wedge out.
No, of course we've got plenty of spare lanes here, so I could do a quick slip, quick swap here. Consultation going on with the officials, and here comes the spare. So the swimmers just have to take this in their stride. It's probably one of the more common things where there's a problem with the wedge, so I guess the backstrokers will have experienced this before.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like a fairly quick, efficient change, so we're good to go. go. I'm getting news that there might be a swim-off, so don't go away after this race, and we'll give you a bit more information about that shortly. But let's just focus on this race at the moment. Martin Walton looks like he's maybe just got the edge in lane 5, but it's going to be very tight indeed. Who's going to get the touch? It is Martin, 25.93 from Robbie Hemmings, 26.16, and just 100th behind him, Liam White, 26.17. Well, that was a close one. 25.93, certainly will put him in a good lane, but it's going to be, I think Scott Gibson will have lane 4 in the final. In his second season at Edinburgh University, very much a backstroke specialist. That's confirmation of that final heat, and then we should see the top 8. Here it comes. Gibson, Walton, Greenmount, Brooker, Castelli, Hemmings. Missed the last 2, but we'll come back to that. There we go, Liam White and Nick Pyle getting those final 2 spots. So, have we got a swim-off? That's the question. Just wondering where that might be. No, we don't, I'm told, so that answers that one. So that means that we're done for the day. It's been great having your company, Tim. Thank you very much for your contributions. It's always good to get what's going on and your insights in the swimmers who are up and coming, and we saw plenty of that tonight from the up and comers. What's impressed you tonight?
I think you know, the athletes that are still trying to prove themselves to the selectors for the Olympic team. You know, it's tough to have to go when the race itself might not be so quick. So, you know, you'd have to pick out Laura Stevens and the quality of that 200 fly 2070. That, you know, that's medal winning time at European level, and certainly in the mix at world level. Cameron Curls 146.6 as well. Again, another standout swim as well. You know, those are going to be trying to come back and move it on again tomorrow. So those are probably the highlights. I think we know the 200 freestyle is generally being a competitive race tomorrow. But there's be some of the good stuff as well. You know, the tactical polarisation of the Leliots versus Mildred, and what happens there will be an interesting watch as well. And even somebody like Georgia Davis to see how she approaches tomorrow morning to give herself the confidence to shoot for the stars on the 100 backstroke in the evening.
So finals, 10 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be a good session, isn't it? There's a lot of quality racing, picking up on those highlights from tonight and see whether they can take it on tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. It's worth a watch, I think.
Yeah, definitely. 10 o'clock. Be here. You don't want to miss it. But in the meantime, I'm Duncan McKinnell, and from myself and Tim, we wish you a very good night from Glasgow.
Whatever your day holds, you need a breakfast that helps you get up and go. Up.
And go, go, go.
Up.
And go.
A delicious breakfast shake made with oats and milk. High in fibre, high in protein, high in calcium. Start right with Up and Go. The official breakfast partner of British Swimming. Find us in the cereal aisle.
Sim-only plans? There are always so many tempting options. So you jump headfirst into a long contract, which keeps you locked in for 12 months.
Somebody let me out!
At Labara, we offer great value plans and total flexibility. You can get 10 gigs of data, unlimited UK minutes and texts, and 100 international minutes for just £10 a month. And you can change or cancel anytime.
Now I feel free.
Buy now at labara.co.uk.
Attention, please. Here's something I bet you didn't know. Not all supplements are created equal. At HealthSpan, our omega-3 oil is sustainably sourced from the South Pacific Ocean. We find our turmeric in the southern slopes of India. And our cod liver oil comes from the cold, crisp seas off Greenland. We work hard to seek out the best ingredients for our supplements, because that's the HealthSpan way. We're healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements in-store or direct to your door.
latest in tech suit innovation. Frictionless fiber construction. Surface lift technology. Endo compression cage. Seamless exo shell. Here, Venzo. Battleborn.